Alright guys, it's an absolutely beautiful day and we finally got both machines in the same location. Tyler from Rico Equipment's down, and we're going to do a detailed overview of both machines and talk about the similarities and the differences between them. Let's do this, guys. All right, guys, we got Tyler from Rico / Hyundai. He's the man. He's the one who made all this happen. So thanks for coming down. We're going to do the video. I got about 30 hours on the machine now. And I don't want to call it the like and dislike. We're just going to go between the differences between the two machines. I'm going to tell you what I've noticed. You're going to be the salesman. I'm just going to be the informant. How's that sound?
That'll work, absolutely.
So first thing we need to do is, I know a lot of people are going to comment on this, is they're the same size. What did you call them? The same class machine?
Yeah, relatively close.
But they're completely different in build.
Right.
This is what Hyundai considers their close radius machine. That's what Volvo I consider the conventional machine. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're not Twinkies. They're not the same. There's differences from the start. But they're the same weight class machines, and a lot of people are going to have questions about, is that the machine I need for what I'm doing? Or is that the machine I need for what I'm doing? And hopefully we can answer some of those by demonstrating some different boom geometry, balance, cab stuff, a couple different things, etc. That make sense? Anything else to add there?
I mean, it's going to be a great way to, you know, compare, even though they're not both Hyundai, they're not both Volvo. It's a good way to compare the
It's not apples to apples. I mean, we're kind of comparing vegetables and fruits, but I think you guys get the point. This is going to be an informative video, not a direct comparison video.
Exactly.
So,
and some fun too.
And some fun. So first things first, let's start with the obvious difference. They're different colors.
Yeah.
So they kind of got the same scheme going, but they're totally different colors. But don't worry, guys, I'm going somewhere with this. And you can't really tell it in these two machines sitting here. This machine is a year old, approximately.
Yes. Yep.
And that machine is 4.5 years old. But one thing I did notice whenever I was at Ritchie Brothers down in Florida is Volvo's paint don't seem to quite hold up as well as some of the other ones. They look really good coming out of the factory, and I don't know if we can demonstrate that to some example, but it seems to fade. It don't keep its shine. Now I know, guys, it has absolutely nothing to do with the performance of the machine, but if a guy wants to keep his machine looking nice, I personally think it's going to take more effort to keep that one shining. Now, I did notice a few Hyundais down there, and I would compare this paint. Caterpillar probably has some of the best paint on the market. Their machines look good for a long time, and I would say Hyundai's paint is very, very competitive with that. It seems to keep it shine. It's a lot slicker to the feel. It's like they actually put a clear coat on the machine. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
And I know this is not a direct comparison because this machine's not as old as that. So you guys are going to have to trust me, and you can even go back and look on some of my videos from the Ritchie Brothers auction down there. They had C's and C's of these things, and stuff like that shows up over time. So that's one thing I want to bring up, is just the appearance. Instead of them being different, there is a difference in the quality of paint.
Definitely.
And I don't personally wax my machines, but I do know that one's probably going to take a little more maintenance to keep looking as good as what this one does on its own. So one of the big questions, and this was probably one of my questions when I was going to buy these machines, am I going to give up reach with a closed radius machine over a conventional machine? I got a tape measure, and we got two machines here. I say we stretch the booms out and see what we got.
Let's figure it out.
All right, guys, we got both excavators with the boom stretched completely out. One thing I want to point out right off the bat is, I hope you can see it on video, but see how the Volvo boom don't quite lay as flat, and the Hyundai boom lays out a lot flatter. That comes into play more times than what you would think. It kind of depends on what you're doing, if it's to your advantage or disadvantage, but it does make a difference in certain scenarios. But what we're going to do, you guys seen the video, you know what the spec sheet says. We're throwing the spec sheet out the window because we're going to go with real world reach. And what we're going to call real world reach is we're going to measure from the front of the blade to the main bucket pin on the boom. Because if you're out there digging somewhere, that's as far as you're going to pull up, and you're going to go right there. We're going to compare one machine to the other. Now, conventional thinking says that the conventional machine is going to have more reach. We got a tape measure here. We're going to find out if we're right or wrong. Which one are we going to do first? Do the Volvo first?
Let's start with the Volvo.
All right, Volvo, here we go. All right, I know there's probably 1,000 different ways to measure it, but this is the best method we can come up with for being fair for both machines to see what we got. So on this one here, to the center of that pin, we got 16 foot, 10 inches. Let's go see what we got on the other side. See, if you were Captain Kleeman, this is where we'd take bets and see who owes who lunch. What's your guess?
I'm gonna go with the Hyundai.
You think we got more?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll take the Volvo because I got to be the other guy. I'm gonna go like 16.5. So you're going like greater than 16.10?
Yeah.
What's the bet here? We buying lunch? You don't drink Pepsis, but if I win, I want a Pepsi. Fair enough. All right, here we go. Good.
Let's go.
Holy cow! It's like 17 on the money. I would have lost that bet every day. I never would have dreamed. So we're going to call this real world reach. The Hyundai's got it by 2 inches. I'm going to contribute some of that to how flat that boom lays. Yeah, I think that's where they gain their couple inches pretty easy. Now, if you, like I said, if you guys want to get technical, the spec sheet, I think it's 20, 24, 25 something. I have to go back and look, but that's going to be from that pin to the center of the machine. That much of the reach is useless to me. This is where I can pull up and dig stuff. Obviously, if you spin this machine around the other way, you can get more reach on the backside.
Right.
But that's the best way we have to gauge this. Now, one huge difference I noticed in these machines is the ability to load a truck in close. We're going to fold the booms in, lift them up, and I think I can demonstrate that for you. All right, guys, I hate going back to it, but you hear me talk about on this channel for time and time again is different machines and different boom geometry. And this is probably one of the best examples I've ever had to show you. Look how far that boom is back and how much higher that bucket is than this one. And that is huge whenever you're working in tight quarters or loading trucks next to you, or you're building a retaining wall and you don't have a whole lot of room to work. It makes a huge difference. And we already proved to you that by that boom going up and folding back that far, it didn't hurt the reach at all.
No, not at all.
The machine still had the reach. So I think what we're going to do here is we're sitting on pretty level ground between the two machines. We're going to measure from the boom pin down on both and give you an actual spec on what that difference is. All right, slight change of plans. We're going to measure off the coupler instead because we do not have a step ladder to get up there. So we'll go with the Hyundai first this time, and the number is 9'3". This is where I need to bet you.
I'll say, you want to bet me on that?
No, I think this one's pretty obvious. I don't think there's a whole lot to bet here. Let's see here. I can almost reach this one. And the Volvo is 7'3". That's
9'3" here, right?
Yeah, that's 2 feet of difference. That's insane. That is 2 feet of difference in close. That is a game changer on several jobs. For what I do and the applications I work in, I would much rather prefer this setup. I noticed that almost immediately when I started operating the machine, and I have not found many disadvantages of that boom geometry. This one here may be slightly better for loading trucks away from you in a distance, but I would give that up in a heartbeat to have this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So now you got to be honest, from a sales standpoint, did you even know they were that different?
I did not.
See, we're learning them something.
That's right.
We're gonna educate you before the day's over. All right, guys. So one of the first things everybody says about a compact radius machine is they're horribly balanced. We'll talk about that in more detail later. I found this machine to be very well balanced. Now we're not scientists out here or mathematicians, no. But I want to demonstrate the best we can the balance between the Volvo conventional machine and the Hyundai compact radius machine. And what we've come up with here is I was able to round up one of these cubes. They weigh about 4,000 pounds, and the lifting eye on is broke, so we're gonna have to settle for squeezing it in the thumb. Well, we're gonna grab it, The same way with both machines, I'm going to move that out into the center of the balance. The machine comes off balance. At that point, we will measure from the bucket pin to the track frame on both machines. Now, like I said, this is not exact science. This machine's got a different thumb. This machine's got a different undercarriage. I think there's enough dirt in the tracks to compensate for the thumb weight for dirt weight, but like I said, it's not exact science. So we're going to swing that out until it gets off balance. We'll get a measurement, and we'll do the same thing with the Hyundai machine. Now, I think we both pretty much know the Volvo's probably going to win this, but how close do you think they'll beat each other?
Exact number, I'm not sure, but I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I think we're going to be surprised too. And I will add, this Volvo machine is probably one of the most balanced machines I've ever operated and I think that machine's going to compete with it, which in itself is a statement. I think they're going to be within 2 feet of each other, which is a pretty big deal. But why are we talking? Let's find out. So now it's time for a measurement. You care to hold me right there, sir?
Absolutely.
Oh, hang on to the tape measure, dirt perfect. We'll go back here to the track frame. That should be a good measurement on both of them. And on this particular machine, it is 19 feet on the money. I mean 19 feet on the dot. So let's switch the cube to the other machine and see what we got over there. All right, guys, we jumped over in the Hyundai HX 145. We got our cube just the same way. We're gonna let Tyler video, see what this one's got. All right, guys, it took us just a second here, but we have found the sweet spot officially. We are balanced. See what we got. Bucket pin, the track frame, 18 foot one. That's 11 inches of difference. I would have lost that bet in a heartbeat. I mean, everybody wants 11 inches more reach, but there's a lot of times I'd give it up to not have that zero tail swing back there. And this is one of those, each machine has its place. You got to do what works for you, but that's impressive.
It really is. I mean, you can tell just from the, like when that one's swung around, just how this is right there.
Yeah, and they don't call these a true zero tail swing because there is, well, I got a tape measure right here. Let's just tell them, Tyler. I think it's 1'6". It hangs over. We're just gonna go from the track because it's all we got to measure. But 11 inches, is that what you call it? Yep. So, and if you had the 28-inch shoes on this machine, like I do that machine, it would be very close to a zero tail swing machine. Let's swing that one around and see what we got. Let's do it. All right, so obviously this number is going to be skewed a little bit because this machine has 28-inch pads on it. This machine has 20-inch pads. So I guess if we were good at math, we could basically, if you held me at 4 inches,
all right,
that'd be a true measurement, I do believe. I'll give you the nasty job of crawling underneath.
Here we go. 3
foot on the dot. So basically 2 foot, 1 inch difference in the tail swing on them. So basically this is the best way I know to put this. If you have an extra 2 feet hanging off the back, you can reach out a foot farther. I don't know, that seems like a good trade-off to me to lose 2 feet here. If you lose 2 feet here and you only lose 1 foot out there, that's pretty hard for me to argue against, to be honest with you. And I don't know how other models compare, but that is one of the things I've been the most impressed with on this machine, is the balance of it. It surprised me from the first day I was in there operating it, how well balanced it was. It's very good. So, all right, we covered reach, we covered booms. Next thing we need to talk about the blades. I hate to tell you, Tyler, but I think your Hyundai may be in trouble on this one. This is where you're gonna have to sell it hard, buddy.
Well, all right.
Let's see what you got. All right, guys, we're blade to blade, and no, we are not gonna have a push off. I hate to say it, but I think the Volvo would win just because of the shoes it's got on it, so it's not fair. But a couple obvious differences here. This is probably besides the close radius machine and the conventional machine, this is probably the biggest difference between the two machines, is the blade. You can tell the profile of the way the Volvo blade is built compared to the Hyundai blade is quite a bit different. I do prefer this steeper angle. It's better for chalking yourself in the ground, and it's also better if you're actually wanting to cut ground and push it. This one would be a little bit better for grading purposes, but for just shoving stuff around, I prefer this. Now, one thing I want to mention on either machine, neither one of them have a bolt-on cutting edge, and I do not know why. This is a wear feature, just like a tooth on a bucket, and why they have those welded on there and not a bolt-on edge like a bulldozer or something, I have no idea. Do you know?
I do not. That's I mean, you bring...
I don't think that would be a whole lot of an added expense, and I'll probably end up adding a bolt-on cutting edge one of these days, because you can already see a substantial amount of wear on that. I use this thing a lot. So moved on down the line, there's also quite a bit difference in the way the blades are built. I would say the Volvo is substantially built a little bit stronger than the Hyundai. You can tell a huge difference in the size of the cylinders. I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but that's basically a 6-inch cylinder. Now keep in mind, guys, I have had no issues with the durability of the Volvo or the Hyundai since I've used it. But that cylinder, I don't know if you guys can see down there, is about a 4.5-inch cylinder. And there's just not quite as much gussetry and everything else down here. The way the booms are built and everything else is on this machine, I cannot poke a hole in anything. And if I didn't see a Volvo blade, I don't know if I'd be questioning this, but it is one thing that's considerably different between the two. But probably the most noticeable difference is the amount of travel. We have not measured this, but we're going to do it now. We got both blades in the up position. We're going to measure in the center of the machine to be fair to both. I don't think there's anything to be bet on this one, Tyler. I think we can already see who the winner might be, but let's find out. So on the Hyundai, 18.5. On the Volvo, 21. So we'll call it 21.5. So that's basically a 3-inch difference in height, and that does make a difference. One thing I always heard about these push blades, everybody says, oh, you get stuck in the mud and this, that, and the other. I've not had any trouble with either machine, but this one is less likely to do that than that one because of the travel. But I think we'll be even more surprised in the down position, and we gotta figure out a way to measure that. Didn't think that far ahead. Boy, I should have thought this out before I started talking. See, I start talking to get myself in trouble all the time. I'll tell you what we could probably measure it at, is we'll reach in there and we'll measure the bottom pivot pin of the blade to the ground.
All right. That
should be a fair measurement on both. Like I said, guys, this is not exact science. This is just observations by Dirt Perfect and Tyler, and we're doing the best we can, so stick with us. All right, Tyler, there we go. That's a pretty noticeable difference between the two. We'll get an official measurement here, but whenever you're in this position, you can see the size difference in the cylinders. It does make it a little harder to see on the Hyundai machine because they put these shields over top of them, which I'll have to say I like a lot. I kind of wish the Volvo had that. I do have concerns about how long that piping and stuff's going to last. I mean, we do let Captain Kleeman operate this thing, so I'm sure that's going to be a hydraulic bath one day. But this stuff seems to be a little bit more protected. But we need to get an official measurement the best way we know how on the travel of one. And the best way I know how is to measure this pin right here off the ground. So on this machine, it's 21 inches, Tyler. All right. 21 inches. Let's see what we got over here on the Volvo. 26 inches. So that'd be 4 inches difference. Did I do math right? 5 inches. See, that's why I got smart people around. I think in total fairness though, we probably ought to put this at 0 and get a measurement on that pin at 0, because the base measurement may be different on those.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we give both machines proper justice. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right, Tyler, we're back at ground zero. Let me climb in here. You guys are wondering, it smells delicious in here. See what we got here to make sure we're being fair to everybody. And that is 13.5 inches. Do you remember what that was up top? Was it 26?
I believe 26.
So 13.26, that's how many inches?
Yeah.
See, I'll make you do YouTube math now. See if you do better than me. And this one here is 13 inches. So our upper measurement's different. So we decided 5 inches difference in travel.
That's what it was, yeah.
And like I said, where I noticed that the most is trying to use that blade for leveling. Me and you were having a conversation that this is considered a dozer blade as far as Hyundai is concerned, and it does that great. It pushes dirt great. I use them for leveling as much. I find that one to be a little more effective for leveling the machine, but both of them do an excellent job as far as pushing dirt. There is one other thing I want to show you. Let me swing that machine around and I'll point it out to you. All right, guys, this is the last position I wanted to show you on the blade. And the reason why I bring this up, I left this dirt in here, not because I was too lazy to clean it out, but I wanted to show you guys. One thing that's nice about this setup is if you back up to a building with this blade, that tail will miss it. But it does not take much dirt at all to get down in there. You raise the blade up, and guess what? You can't swing. You can see how tight it is there. And that's where a lot of this comes from. It's not me backing into piles, not paying attention to what I'm doing. It's dirt on that blade right there. It's got me in trouble a few times. So you go over to the Hyundai, same position, wide open. You can play basketball in there.
Yeah.
Another thing is the Hyundai blade's a little more open in the center, and the dirt that comes over the blade seems to fall through it.
Drops right down through.
Or that one there's a little more constricted in there, and it don't fall through. I have not had any problems with dirt getting stuck in there, and I obviously have not had any problems with the tail getting caught on the blade. So we'll have to give Hyundai the win on that one by a long shot. So as we make our way around the machine, top to bottom, front to back, I lost track of which way we're going. Do you know which way we're going?
Undercarriage.
Undercarriage. All right, that's all we got G around. So, a couple noticeable differences on the undercarriage. One, the bottom number of rollers is the same, but the Volvo has a single top roller where the Hyundai has 2 top rollers. There's pros and cons to both. If I had to have my preference, I'd prefer to have 2 top rollers. It takes the stress off one top roller, and the top roller on an excavator or most pieces of equipment is the most common one to fail. So I think with a 2 roller setup, most likely it's going to last a little longer. I prefer this. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail about the gussetry and the way the frames are built. They're kind of tit for tat, to be honest with you, but one huge difference is the Hyundai steps are welded on. Now I'm going to make an assumption here by this sticker that it's a certified approved tie down. Whenever you're putting this thing onto a lowboy trailer, that is very, very handy to tie down this machine. It works like a dream. The Volvo has 3 steps, but they're all bolted and they hinge up. If you hit something, it'll hinge up. Then you go stick your foot in there and the step's up here instead of down here. Next thing you know, you busted your shin on it. I prefer that style over this. I'm not for sure why Volvo has 3 of them, but they do. But they're all 3 bolted right here instead of welded. Now the flip side of that is if you damage a step, you can unbolt and bolt a new one on.
Yep.
But I don't know many people replace steps. They usually just go without.
I haven't heard of it.
And that one there is tucked in a lot nicer, and it's built considerably heavier. That one there, you'd have to work pretty hard at damaging. These here, I wouldn't call them fragile or dainty by any stretch of the imagination, but you can tell by the way they're built, these would be much more susceptible to being damaged than those. And those doubling as tie downs is probably the handiest feature from the seat down.
It is. It's very convenient.
Take 2. All right, Tyler, one thing I get asked a lot is serviceability on this machine, especially since it's a closed radius machine. And this one compared to that one, as far as serviceability of oil change, filters, daily maintenance and stuff, I would put them pretty comparable. I mean, both companies do a good job of having all the filters, where they're easy access, easy to get to. The difference is, there's 2 main differences. If I was a mechanic, I think I would prefer to work on a Hyundai machine just because of the way they have things labeled and their shields and guards. I know I've used this example a lot of times, but just simple things like having this removable so you can do some engine maintenance without having to pull the counterweight. We've talked time and time again about the everything being labeled with the part number and very well described. But one thing, first off, their doors on a zero tail swing machine or a closed radius machine, I mean, they are built. I don't know if there's anybody else out there that does as good a job. They're equal, if nothing else. But one thing I want to point out is the stack coolers and these removable screens they got on here, and then the holes in the door and the screen they got on here. which when it comes to cooling and protecting that, they do a very good job of. Now the flip side of that, this is actually one of the complaints I got, or one of the concerns. I shouldn't say complaints, it's a concern I have about the Volvo. And I have had issues, especially this time of year whenever the leaves and everything on. As you open up this door, this area is all wide open right into the cooler. And your temperatures will start rising and you'll come back here. Now it does have a reversible fan. It will blow it off. But there's a lot of stuff that gathers in there, where on that machine, they don't even have the option to get in there to gather.
No, not at all.
So that's a pretty big difference. And again, we are, we'll just take a little time there to clean the machine out while we're in here, Tyler. There again, we're comparing a conventional machine to a closed radius machine. Volvo's machine, I know, is set up a little bit different, but this has been one of my biggest concerns with this machine since I had it, is clearing and stuff gathering here for fire reasons, heat reasons, a lot of different reasons. And my concern has come true a few times. I have done some clearing with that machine and not have any issues at all. That's the things I notice. Anything else you would like to point out?
Yeah, one thing that I get quite a bit is with the compact radius machines, just how difficult is it to, I guess, do your own service. And we've already kind of went over that, you know, a little bit here and there, but I mean, you can tell everything, even though it's compact, and it's kind of, I guess, just squeezed in there. It's all, I mean, just very nice and neat. Just, yeah, everything's laid out.
Everything's mapped nice, labeled nice, positions nice. If you guys watch my other video, we've already talked to Hyundai about the position of this computer versus DEF. I think Justin told us they're working on a different variation of that. Maybe on the market soon, but even in your modules, everything is very nicely placed. It's been one of the things that's impressed me from these machines from the very first time I've seen it at ICU EE. And if you guys want to see a complete walk around of both these machines, I actually did that in my other video whenever I was shopping for these. So there's a lot more details in those videos if you guys want to go check it out. But for serviceability, I'd say they're equally matched. From a mechanic standpoint, I think I'd probably prefer this machine. Just and maybe my brain and the engineer, the brain of the engineer, I can't talk, I'm sorry, work the same. But it's just simple things that make sense. I know other manufacturers do similar things, but I haven't seen anybody do it as good as Hyundai, is the best way I know to put it. All right, guys, I think we got the outside of the machines covered really well.
Absolutely.
If we missed something, comment down below. Hyundai's going to be watching these videos very closely. I'm sure Susan or Ted or Justin or somebody, or even yourself, will get back to them, answer any questions you guys got. We're going to call this video a wrap. Part 2, we're going to go over the operator station, and there's a lot to talk about there. That's probably the second round. The biggest differences is the operator station. So I hope you guys stay tuned to that. Huge thanks to Tyler. Huge thanks to everybody at Hyundai for making this happen. And guys, stay tuned, because we'll catch you on the next one.